the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'd also ask everybody to remain standing for a moment of silence for the passing of Anthony Pena, who is a senior here at the high school. All right, thank you. And we also wish his sister a speedy recovery as well. Lily, could you take attendance, please?
Here.
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 Here. Here.
Excellent. Thanks, Julie. With that, we'll turn it over to Dr. Bell, who will run us through the litany of policies we have.
All right, thank you, Corey. There's quite a few policies on tonight on the agenda for review. The good news is 17 of them are policies that are just merely up for their 5-year review, and we're not recommending any changes at this point. But I would ask of those 17 that say no changes next to the title, if you happen to take a look at any and you have any questions, just let us know, and we can even do some digging or some research if you have any questions about something we may not have the answer. But again, they're the same as they've been for the last 5 years. There are two that Cheryl and Diana have. That's 113.1, discipline of students with disabilities, and 113.2, behavior support. So I'll see if one of those ladies are going to come on and speak, or both of them. Cheryl and Diana?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, there weren't any major changes to those policies. The only changes that occurred were the addition of the word positive in front of the words support plan, and some changes with, instead of having his/her, the word there was replaced the his/her, but nothing changed as far as the bulk of the policy. It was little insertions of words.
And then how about, who's got 113.2? Is that you or is that Diana?
That was both of us. Diana,
Oh, it was both of them. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were just talking about 113.1. Okay.
No, yeah, I think that was with both policies. Those were the additions.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any
Yeah.
questions on those?
Sorry,
two?
I was having trouble unmuting.
Yeah, look
but-
at them over the weekend or whatever, or early next week. If you have any questions, just let us know and we'll do some homework if there's any questions about them. All right, then we're going to move down to all the way down to 127 assessments and 130 homework. And I'll ask if Vicky will come on.
I'm here. Can you hear me? Okay. Under assessments, I believe that was the one where we just, Brian and I both had that and we changed, that was the ELD distinction. I think it was ESL or ELL, and it's changed multiple times in the last few years. We just fixed that. And the other one talked about how to communicate homework, and we just took out the line about homework hotline because we both felt that that was incorporated under digital, email, phone, you know, the multiple ways that teachers could get homework information to kids. So that was literally all we changed.
All right, anybody have any questions on those two?
What is ELD now stand for?
Well, don't make an expensive plaque because it'll probably change again before the plaque gets here. It's amazing how many times it's changed in just the last couple of years. So, okay, any other questions on 127 or 130? All right, I'll turn it over to Bill under the budget, finance, and facilities category to talk about the tentative results of the 19-20 financials.
Okay, yeah, the auditors have finished their field work. They'll finish up off-site with some other tasks, but generally these numbers I don't expect to change unless something happens over the next few days. But when we meet on October 29th, The only vote that you'll need to take is actually on the budget transfers, that mundane activity we have to do to meet PDE and school code guidelines. But the results of the 1920 year where the revenues were above budget by about $280,000, which is 0.33% above, 1/3 of 1% above what we had budgeted. So that was pretty good. Because last year we did not reach our budget. The expenditures are under budget by $1,120,000, or 98.67 of the budget was expended. The combination of those two would be, there's a $1.4 million surplus. And if you recall, I mean, our recommendation is, and I think it was clear when we passed the budget that we felt that we were going to need these funds for the year we're in. And when we passed the budget, we did not have a tax increase. And we had planned on using $835,000 of unassigned fund balance. So on our financials, this will go at the surplus in the new year becomes what's called unassigned fund balance. In prior years, you may have committed it somewhere, but knowing we're likely, very likely going to have a shortfall that we knew about. And then I think it's even going to be higher because of, the outside cybers and some other various extra cleaning we have to do, and et cetera. So our recommendation is that would stay an unassigned fund balance. Again, the budget transfers are the only thing that's on for a vote. The final audit, you won't get until like January. They do all their field work and give us the results because my office has to submit what's called the annual financial report by October 31st to the Department of Education. So after, tonight from this point forward, we'll move along in my office to accomplish that task with expecting you to vote in 2 weeks accordingly on those budget transfers. On the cafeteria operation, as expected, we were going to have a loss. If you recall, Act 13 required us to pay the cafeteria employees, even though we did not have sales at those. The results of the cafeteria is a $91,564,000 loss. And again, it was primarily, it was because we had to pay those wages, but we were not open. Now in the cafeteria, it is considered what they call retained earnings because we run that like a business with, as far as our financials go. That will leave, we had $230,000 of retained earnings at the end of June 30th of 2019. So you subtract the 91,500 and we will still have a retained earnings of 138,455 going into this school year. Are there any questions on the financials? Thank you.
I did have one, not to beat a dead horse, but there seems to be some confusion still regarding the whole, at the secondary level, what a student is marked if they Zoom from home, if they're an in-person student. So somebody said that they were now marked, it was, I believe it was not a quarantine student, but that they were sick, they stayed home. Do we have a Zoom present code now? Are we utilizing that? Where are we with that, all of that?
We do have a
Yeah, I was too.
If they're quarantined, there's, I understand. that now
automatic,
they
yeah.
should be present Zoom. So I know there was a lot of discussion back and forth as to whether if you were taking just a day off because,
Yeah,
you know,
I'll check
apparently
for the-
being abundantly cautious, how are we doing day-to-day absences?
yeah. If
And
he
if we
comes,
can get that information out to parents,
sure. And if he comes on before the end of the end of this meeting, we can even ask him. If not,
Right.
I'll find out tomorrow and then I'll make sure I announce it publicly at the next meeting too, just so people know. Because that's the one part I don't know is if it's just a 1-day sickness.
can we put something out on social media? A post about that?
Sure. Yep.
Because I think that that's a burning question that a lot of parents still have. And like I said, because there's still confusion about it.
Yeah. And if they can't wait, tell them to call the office in the morning, you know, because they can get an answer even faster. If they just call the office tomorrow morning. But yeah, I'll get that and we can put something out on social media once we get an answer. But I'll keep an eye for Brian to show
Okay,
up.
thank you.
I finally got the transfers on my screen here. And I noticed that the first transfer bill was $367,782. What category is that?
That would have been, we had quite a few more retirement, teacher retirements than expected.
So that was all, 367 was retirements. And how are we doing this year with that same line item? Are we on budget?
Well, I have no idea who's retired, but.
Okay.
Till March.
In other words, it was.
But is the budget equal to last year's or is it equal to the beginning of the prior
It
year?
would have been,
Did we bump up the budget for that same category?
well, a lot of these retirements didn't come until.
More, yeah. Oh, okay.
I can tell you what,
I think we had 2 or 3 very late beyond,
Right.
we're budgeting in March, and then that's in your June budget.
So even after the close of the fiscal year, you had to throw it back to last year.
correct,
Yeah.
exactly.
But we're not going to run, I don't want to run into that same issue again in 2021 where we're way under budget. I know we never know, but I just like to get a handle on it.
Yeah, we put $598,000 district-wide
Right,
in all categories under 290.
right,
In this past year, we had 1,037,000.
okay. Well, hopefully we won't have a lot of retirements then. I know it works out better in the next year.
But I think, yeah, and it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we have people go that we just didn't think
Right,
with the years they had, they were gonna go.
all right, thank you.
And that-
Took me a while to get to the transfer, sorry.
Muted there, but You kind of spoke for me.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the budget? The agenda?
Just the meeting dates, is it still the 12th and the 19th? Or will we?
Just the meeting dates. I wasn't sure, were we doing, I thought we talked about doing like every 2 weeks or something, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, we have a problem though because Thanksgiving
Okay.
So we can't do
okay.
second and fourth. And if you did first and third, then we'd be
Okay.
back to back anyway. So I guess no matter how you skin it,
Got it.
we're
Okay.
gonna have back to
I
back
just
weeks
wanted to clear
somewhere.
it up in my own.
So I think we could stick with the 12th and 19th.
I just want to mention also, there may be additional personnel items this month that aren't on here. Some leaves and so on that I'm awaiting paperwork, but people have inquired, so.
Sure. Again, I just want to echo what Corey said about our hearts going out to the Pena family for such a horrific thing. And best wishes for Melania getting healthy as fast as she can. And just let everybody know we're all thinking about them, for sure.
Yeah, the balloon launch last night, it was amazing on how many kids came out.
That's
They
really
were
nice.
just filling up balloons forever.
That's great.
The line just kept going and going, and kids, from sports and all walks of the high school were there. So it was amazing. So
For those that didn't see haven't seen it yet, there was an accident today. It was a really bizarre thing. A tractor trailer traveling westbound, so that's from Matamoros towards Milford, crossed over the grass median, crossed over the two eastbound lanes, went through the guardrail, and just missed the sign going eastbound that says Matamoros 1 mile. Just missed that sign, went through the guardrail, came down the hill at about a 45-degree angle, and came right onto campus and hit a light pole. Missed the big electronic sign and missed the guardrail to the left somehow, and the guy walked away with just a couple scratches and bruises. How there were no cars that got hit, no people hurt it's just a miracle. It really is incredible. But who would ever have thought of such a crazy story of it coming the wrong way across the highway and down the hill and not even rolling at any time. It just kept on plowing straight ahead. And thankfully it was an empty flatbed trailer on the back and not a closed trailer full of lots of things that would create a lot of weight, which would be a lot of momentum. So that was a really bizarre thing today. But thankfully, and the police, the fire, the ambulance, everybody was here in no time flat. It was just tremendous how everybody worked together to get here right away. And again, thankful that nobody got hurt, because it could have been horrible up on the highway. It could have been horrible on 209. It could have been horrible on campus, it's something very serious. So even when we have the craziest year in the history of the world, and a crazy thing like this happens, there is a silver lining that no one was hurt.
Was there a fuel spill or something?
Yeah, he's a tractor trailer, so it was carrying diesel. So it's the tank leak. So then you have to come in, and this big pumper truck comes in and sucks up all the fuel.
Wow.
And then we have to dig up in that, it's like a water basin. It's a catch
Right.
basin for water runoff. And then you dig out soil, and then there'll be soil sample tests that'll happen for probably the next X number of months, just to make sure that there was no seepage and make sure that we got everything out and
Okay.
stuff like that. And then there was also fuel on the blacktop. So that all had to be treated and cared for in a proper way according to DEP regulations. So we had a pumper truck to pump the gas out of the catch basin. We had almost like a street cleaner, but it had to be a special kind of street cleaner because you're dealing with fuel. It was amazing. And fortunately, there's a lot of big trucking over in like the Goshen, Maybrook, Montgomery area. There's a lot of warehouses and stuff. So we were able to get companies from over there to come pretty quickly because they're used to dealing with tractor trailer spills and things like that. So ironically, one of those companies that ended up helping us today, one of their men was driving in an SUV eastbound on 84, saw in his rearview mirror the tractor trailer go careening across the road the wrong way behind him, and then got off the exit right away because he said, "Oh my God," and he actually helped us out because he's dealt with these kinds of things, before. So I mean, the stars aligned.
Yeah.
The stars certainly aligned. What are the odds of that? Someone from one of those companies over in Goshen area was on the highway and saw it in his rear view.
Well,
So,
I know they're still out there working.
yeah,
Is that entrance going to be open for tomorrow? Or-
I think it will be. I think
Okay.
it will be.
And I'm sure you guys, if it's not, then you'll have a
Yeah.
plan. to
Yeah,
start
we'll
it.
do the plan we had to do, that we
Of
did
course,
this
all the
afternoon.
construction is fantastic.
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
It's the gift that keeps on giving right now.
Well, the beauty is these guys haven't been here to Blacktop in about a week and a half. I don't know what they're waiting for with 2 gorgeous days we had
Yeah.
yesterday and today.
I don't understand. Yeah.
So it was interesting today because every bus had to come in from this entrance
Right.
and then go the wrong way through the bus circle, go up to the middle school and turn around and then come back to be facing the right way. While we sent them around back to turn them around, we released the student drivers early and got them. They couldn't go out the entrance or the exit by the sign either. We had to bring them across the bus circle. So instead of having double stacked buses all across the front, we had single stacked buses for twice as long so that we would have a left lane to bring the cars around and snake them out, then snake the buses, then the cars from around back. We had to make an announcement to tell middle school kids that normally get picked up in the back, that your parents will be in the front somewhere, because they just had to park wherever they could find a spot. But there were so many people from the high school out on bus duty helping to orchestrate it because we had never done it before. It was like the first day of a new school, with a new pattern and everything. But hopefully it'll be cleaned up enough that we don't have to reinvent the wheel tomorrow morning.
Good.
We'll be out there bright and early if it's not ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jess, I texted Brian and Nicole. And the answer is yes, they can use the code. It's brand new, so teachers are just getting used to it. And yes, those students that are absent for illness or another reason are eligible to be present Zoom.
Good.
So,
Okay.
Yep.
It's a blessing and a curse.
And then on the COVID update, as I had said in the message I put out this week, the issue we had at Shahola this week was case number 8. And everybody from the first 6 had already come back. And I think 7 is in the process. The kids from 7, case number 7 are in the process too. So we've been, knock on wood, we've been fortunate that things haven't spread. We've had an issue. We were able to figure out who it was. In each instance, they've all been gone by the time we found out they were positive, which was a good thing. And it hasn't spread to any of the quarantine people yet. So that's really a plus, to say the least. So, and that's it for that. The only other thing I just had 2 other notes here, and that was Corey will check about questions from the public. And then the other question is about did you guys want to make any changes to the meetings in terms of, now that we're allowed to have the public, do you want to move to, I think Jack O'Leary had a good idea about moving it to the cafeteria instead of an auditorium, because an auditorium with empty seats is acoustically bad. He's probably got a better way to say it than that, but he's right. Everything just dissolves into the, and we used to, Pam will remember, Jack will remember, we used to have meetings in the cafeteria. We used to use the DV middle school cafeteria. It was a nice, bright, big, clean cafeteria. So if you would like to, yeah. So
Is that gonna present a problem for staff because I know it's set up differently because of COVID with plexiglass and whatnot? Are we
Well-
gonna create too much of a headache doing that?
Well, anytime you go to the schools, it requires extra work, because this is great because this place is always set up for us, so tables are going to have to be realigned, reconfigured. Then when we're done, when we leave, they'd have to put them back the way they want them and then have to clean and then disinfect after our meeting.
Are they gonna have to be measuring again for 6, because the
Yeah.
lunchroom is the one place where they have to be 6 feet
Yeah.
when they're taking the mask off, so. I would just ask to make sure that that's not gonna be too much of a
Mhm.
time burden on them.
rather go to the auditorium where acoustics may not be great, but at least.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, we just have to get the soft earbuds so they fit in our little ears.
Well, one of the things we could do too is traditionally when we've had, we normally, when the public is allowed to come, we don't tape work sessions because they're non-voting meetings. We're only showing work sessions live now because people can't come. So once you go with public allowed, we don't have to tape the work sessions anymore. We just have to tape the voting meeting. But remember, we used to always have the camera up in the corner and it was kind of a broad view of the entire room. And there was a mic up there that picked everybody up. So as opposed to showing the Zoom on YouTube, if we go to another setting like a library or a cafeteria, we can set the YouTube camera up in a corner and have that broad view instead of dealing with the, and then we'd only have to worry about Zoom for any board members who can't make it. And so now you're not trying to get the Zoom quality, both video and audio, onto the YouTube and all that. You'd set the YouTube camera up in the corner, put the mic somewhere centrally located, and just leave it. And they would always have the same view and the same sound quality. And then we don't have the issues we had when we were in the library back in July, or the auditorium rather. That was brutal, trying to hear everybody. And the other idea that you guys somebody had is that instead of the spacing all the way across, to create that U shape with 6 feet. We were much more than 6 feet back in July, because I think we were all still scared, a little bit of making sure we didn't get our neighbor sick. But we were way more than 6 feet. So we could set up an elongated U wherever you want to do it,
I wonder if being on the stage would make a difference.
It might. The only thing is you don't have the depth or the width either, because remember on the stage you have the big wooden panels that they kind of cut in, and we exceeded both those. So the reason I think we tried to use the pit is just that you'd be closer, so that if people were sitting in the audience, it would be easier, because you wouldn't need microphones at your tables either. Remember we had to deal with the mics that night and everything. You wouldn't need to have microphones to feed the audience, because the number of people come, that wouldn't be that much. I think there's 47 people watching this right now when I just looked. So they could just be sprinkled. I think we're past that. But they could just be sprinkled out, in the audience. We could tell them sit in the center section and spread out, that kind of thing. But that,
I would just rope off the first, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do think that they need to stay.
Otherwise they're going to be right behind Julie and Bill and stuff, right? Yeah. Yep. And they could even spread out on the ends, you have the center ends and just across the lane and just across the aisle, that kind of stuff.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you want to use the auditorium as opposed to,
I think let's try the auditorium.
and see how it goes? And if it's any better or not, if it's not, then we'll try another location.
I just think that the less burden, it's already more of a
Right.
burden.
Right.
So, I think that's less invasive, just because I think it's easier for them.
I
to
agree.
adapt after we're gone.
Okay,
That's a lot to expect of them.
right.
Yeah.
And it's just, they're working hard.
Yeah.
So we don't want to overburden them.
Yeah.
I just got a text from Marvin that we're all set. Traffic will be normal in the morning. So
Oh,
that's good to
okay.
know. So,
Great.
the beauty of text.
Mhm.
Okay, that's all I had.
And I know that Dawn had some updates from the PSBA.
Yes, just, now, can you take a packet and pass it around?
Muted. Just, I'm getting the liaison emails now. So this has, there's 3 items that are, there's a summary on the first page, and then the backup for them is behind it. There's the first one, they're asking for us to reach out to our legislators about liability concerns for schools. So and there's a whole packet here, if you can read it and go over it, and then maybe reach out independently if we want to do a group letter, but I think independent is better, the more we can get out there. The next one is on a permanent mandate waiver program. And the second packet that you have lists more about that and what the parameters would be, so that if there's a mandate, an unfunded mandate, there's certain ways that we could possibly apply to not have to follow that mandate. But there's a whole list when you go to the back of the mandates that would not be able to be waived. So I don't know, I would look to Bill, or not Bill, to John on exactly whether this would be worth it. I'm not sure, but if it is, there is also behind that a resolution, which is to this end, with the board, agreeing that we support the mandated waivers.
It's definitely a good direction. The fact
Yeah.
that the idea we're even talking about mandate relief and waivers from some of the regulation is a plus, because we've been going in the wrong direction for 20 years in terms of being so prescriptive and standardized, so. And while the feds require a lot of things that they make the state do and the state makes us do, so we can't get a waiver from those things, like grades 3 through 8 testing and keystones.
Mhm.
You know, there's certain things we can't get away from because they're federal law, but there are certainly things that if something like this were to get passed through, it would be a plus, because then we could start identifying other things that are just time takers that are not in our best interest. Yeah.
So is that something you want to talk about next meeting 2 weeks from now, or, and then possibly put it on for the following meeting as a resolution? Right. And Julie, if I give you the handouts, would you be able to scan them and email them to Jack and Brian? Okay, thank you.
Can you also, John, for that discussion, just come up with a couple examples of what
Sure.
we're talking about?
Sure.
I mean, because that list of things that we can't apply for waiver for is pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's a lot bigger than the things we can ask for.
Right, so I'm just curious as to like what's left, like
Yeah.
what exactly are we applying for this waiver for? So.
Yes, I'll do
thank you.
that.
Well, I think it's interesting that one of the non-waivable provisions is water closets or outhouses. Now, I'm not quite sure what school districts have those, but we can't waive them.
And the fourth paragraph on the whereas
Mhm.
will be very interesting when Bill fills that out. Because
Yes.
we've been talking about, are we experiencing any decline in revenue?
Mhm.
Certainly not on the real estate transfers, we're not.
No,
So before we get into everything, let's make sure we actually have declines. We don't know where we stand with that yet.
well, and I think we could I think we could probably also modify
Yeah.
the
We
waiver.
might just-
Or
the,
eliminate
the
that altogether
resolution.
and not put any
If
specifics.
it's not advantageous, we'll leave the
Yeah.
whole paragraph
Yeah.
out, right?
Right.
We might include those that increased costs to the district because of
Yes, if we
the
have
pandemic.
increased
So
costs,
if
but
we change that.
if the revenue is actually a little higher, which seems to be the
Then we
direction
don't
we're
want
going.
to, yeah.
And if you want, we could put this on the November work session to work on it. And then,
Adopt it.
and then we'll adopt it
Yeah.
at the November meeting of week following
Yeah,
that.
that's good.
Okay. And I'll get some examples for you.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, there's only a handful of school districts that do not have an earned income tax, which we're one of them, which is a really good thing right now. And it's, I mean, it got voted down 9-1 in our district because there's so many non-resident, but that's a good thing. So this is probably generated by the fact that a lot of districts have an earned income tax and are taking a major hit.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna know about our real estate collections until mid-January or at least mid-December of how we did. You know what I mean? So, I mean, right now they're looking good or similar to last year. But I think if you're gonna pay, you're gonna pay it at discount. So it's, we'll have to monitor it, like you said, Jack. I agree.
Are there any other items from any board members? Let's check this quick. We have no questions from the public. So with that, Jack, do you have a question? Jack, do you have a question?
No.
Okay. So with that, our next meeting will be held October 29th at 7 p.m. in the Delaware Valley Auditorium, right? And streamed live on YouTube as well. And I don't need a motion to adjourn, so the meeting is adjourned then. Good. Great, thanks.
Trying to beat my record here, Claire.
Oh, gosh.